different approaches on this topic, how to tackle it. As Sophie also mentioned in the opening words, the gender angle has been quite at the forefront of different industry bodies, industry networks, and think tanks like CGAP. So it's a topic that deserves and gets more and more attention every day. So I'm quite pleased with the panel that we have in front of us right now. We have practitioners working on financial services, we have industry bodies, we have fund managers, we have people trying to break open this space. So we have quite an interesting approach to this topic, to this issue, that I would like to share with you through our speakers. We've had quite a nice structure in front of us to take us through all the different approaches, different challenges. We'll be starting off with a short introduction from Jessica on the 2X Collaborative. Then we go to Ralitsa of Sarona Asset Management, who will discuss a bit on the EMIIF, then Maud, and then Samol. And then we take it into an actual conversation where we bounce off ideas, challenges, opportunities of each working in this space. May I invite first Jessica to the stage to shortly introduce the 2X Collaborative and her work with the 2X Collaborative. Jessica, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. So just a few words on the 2X Challenge and the 2X Collaborative. So as many of you know, we started in 2018 and have developed the 2X criteria and that have quickly become a global industry standard for gender lens investing, embedded in the GINS IRIS Plus framework, as well as harmonized with other frameworks like the OECD DAC gender equality marker, for example. Here I've mapped the opportunity alongside the criteria. I won't go through it in so much detail in the interest of time, but we really see a very strong business case and impact case for each of these. So entrepreneurship, leadership, employment, products and services, and channeling funds through financial intermediaries. So I think this is a particularly exciting opportunity if we look at the financial sector. The 11.4 billion that the 2X Challenge has collectively mobilized from 2018 to 2020 have had a very strong focus on financial intermediaries, focusing on women SME along these criteria. And so I'm excited to be here today and share a bit about our learnings. If we move on to the next slide. Just a quick introduction about the 2X Collaborative. I think many of you have heard it. We have recently launched a global industry body for gender lens investing, convening the entire spectrum of capital providers and mobilizers. So we're now going beyond the DFIs and MDBs that have been part of the 2X Challenge and are really opening it up to pension funds, family offices, all types of investors, and also importantly, financial institutions and funds directly that are now joining us for shared learning, peer learning networks, communities of practice, tools, and co-investment opportunities. I think I'll leave it there in the interest of time, and happy to dive into the discussion in a moment.
Thank you, Jessica. Up next is Ralitsa. Are you there?
Thanks, Rick. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rally. I'm the Director for Investments of the Emerging Markets Impact Investing Fund, EMIIF. EMIIF is an initiative of the Australian government. It's essentially a fund of funds looking to address financing gaps for early stage SMEs in the Asia Pacific region. And we do that through two ways, through having a fund-of-funds approach and providing investment capital to SME funds, could be venture capital funds, private debt funds, occasionally private equity funds. And we also couple that with a technical assistance facility focused primarily on gender lens and impact management and measurement, improving their capacities in those areas. And as you can see in the diagram, that technical assistance is available to both the intermediaries themselves as well as their underlying portfolio companies. We are relatively new in the market. For the last 1.5 years, we've been around, officially launched July 2020, with 40 million Australian dollars, and hopefully the mandate is poised to grow so we can have a greater impact in the region. And if we could move to the next slide, Rick. This is just an overview of kind of our approach, how we think about our gender lens strategy at a fund-to-funds level. And, our goal is simple. We want to help our partners move along from awareness to being a gender smart institutions. It's really the how that gets complicated, but that's where we're here to help. In our approach, we look for partners that are quite aligned in our vision. They don't have to have figured it all out, but they need to recognize the importance and be willing to make the steps. And we also work with gender transformative funds. And for those who are willing really to go the extra mile and provide blended finance solutions to help them take off the ground. And yes, in the interest of time, let me pause here and turn over to Maud.
Thank you, Rali. Maud, may I give the floor to you?
Thank you, Rick. And let me acknowledge the fact that AFI Forum back in 2020 was the last event I attended in person before COVID-19 hit. So I'm really glad to be back here, even if it's online. Let me explain you what is Beyond Finance. Basically, first, it's a team of 3 former colleagues, all women. We are all seasoned professional investors with a decade of experience in impact investing. We've done hundreds of due diligence and quite experienced in private debt in emerging markets, in financial inclusion, in sustainable agriculture and climate finance. And back in 2021, we sat together and asked ourselves the question, right, what is missing today in impact investment? What would you like to see? And with 2 overarching questions, really. First one being in gender, because we have seen a decade of investment in financial inclusion, and we have been part of it, we are proud of it, but we recognize that there is still a long way before fully recognizing the value of gender lens in investing. So the key question for us is really how can we move the needle further in gender lens and help investees to become more gender smart, something that Rally mentioned earlier on with EMIIF. And the second question is really how can we support more sectors benefiting women in emerging countries. So we have designed a transformative gender and climate resilience private debt fund for Asia Pacific, hoping it will be part of this new generation of transformative impact fund. It's based on the following pillars. First, it's aligned with the 2X challenge principle, something Jessica has mentioned earlier. So basically, we focus on companies providing products and services benefiting women in emerging countries, which lead us naturally to financial inclusion, but also access to clean energy, sustainable agriculture, access to water and sanitation. And in this universe, we want to focus on companies led and funded by women, with a minimum of 25% of them, because we know they are still facing challenges in access to finance. Second dimension, quite important in this context of climate crisis, it's climate resilience. And a significant portion of our portfolio will address the needs of new frontier markets in the food, water, and energy nexus. Third part, it's this transformative aspect. And I mentioned the need to move the needle, right? And we will reach it by a technical assistance facility, helping companies really to assess their gaps in gender and where they could really unlock the value of a more gender-centric approach, and innovation. And we would like to put in place a financial incentive mechanism, something you see usually on capital markets with climate, and something we could do as well in gender lens. And we got a lot of support from several organizations. Convergence, I know Joanne was speaking yesterday, and as we were selected for the Indo-Pacific Design Funding Feasibility window, supported by DFAT, and we were also presented at the COP26, which was great for the design phase, and also for the 2X collaborative challenge, and Jessica. Thank you.
Super, thank you, Maud. And then I would like to take it, the last part will be from Sathapana Bank. Samol, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks. So next slide, please, Rick.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So before letting you know who am I would please allow me to share you where I'm from. So I'm from Sathapana Bank. Sathapana Bank is one of the leading commercial bank in Cambodia. And currently we have the asset is over $2 billion. And with the yearly profit is around 41 million. Furthermore, we have the loan to customer is our loan to customer is around 1.77 billion, plus the deposit is also around 1.28 billion also. Related to workforce, we have around 4K, over 4K workforce currently, with the branch network quite a lot in nationwide. Next slide, please, Rick. So this is just a brief for you, the snapshot for you, where is our distribution network. So currently we have over 170 brands in nationwide, and also the ATM is around 250, over 250 also. And as you know that currently everyone is talking about digital, so Sathapana Bank is also accessible by the digital channel that we have internet banking and also mobile banking. And to provide the service, good service to our customer, we also have the call center also. Yeah. So next slide, please, Rick. So what happened to Sathapana? Sathapana is big as today and also as a leading bank in Cambodia. So we just start from 1 year, 2 years? No. In fact, Sathapana has a good history. We started in 1995 from the Sathapana Limited as a microfinance. And then we have merger with the Marahan Japan Bank, and we become the Sathapana Commercial Bank in 2016. So it is a great history of Sathapana to be kind of the stronger as today. And you can see the building as we saw you in the first slide. It's the building, the real building of our Sathapana in the heart of Phnom Penh currently. Yep. So this is just a milestone for you where Sathapana is currently from the history and become today. Yeah. So the next question, maybe you ask me, so Small, where are you sitting in Sathapana Bank? So I'm currently is the head of a human resource and also the head of legal and secretariat of this Sathapana Bank PLC. Yeah. So this is just about me, just a snapshot about me. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Thank you all for taking us a bit through the activities so far, the initiatives taken. Some of them are fairly new. Some of them have been quite more established. I think that's quite interesting as well to see for the discussion as well, like where are we currently standing, where are we heading for. I would like to now maybe take a bit of a look on your each approach of what you've been working on the gender lens, successes, pitfalls, learnings. Maybe I'll kick it off with Maud. You started a new fund. You have plenty of experience. You righteously mentioned it, financial inclusion, impact investing. Why would a new fund be needed? What did you miss in the previous one for this workout, becoming gender transformative? And maybe some of the learnings in launching such a new initiative. Can you share us a bit on that experience?
Sure, and maybe I can start really with this trigger point, right? Why when it started? Look, I started my professional experience probably 30 years ago, right? At a certain point in my career, I was actually nominated to a quite senior role, and that's where you realize, as a woman, that there are not so many women anymore around you, particularly when you enter certain meeting rooms, right? So I started to work a bit on a topic related to gender diversity initiative, and doing it, I did a lot of research and collected data on gender diversity. And what I found was really eye-opening and striking. There is so much evidence today on market inefficiency, and so much still to be achieved in terms of equality of pay, in terms of representation of women in senior management position, in terms even of product and services design for and by women. So it's really also a missed business opportunity. And we know that today COVID-19 has actually exacerbated all these issues, and we leave value out of the table as a result of this market inefficiency. And let me just give you an example, right? There is today a push to have more gender diverse board, and also to have more female senior managers in companies. And it's generally recognized as something which is desirable. But how much do we really know on the value it creates? And there are actually a lot of studies to demonstrate the value of gender lens. The IFC, McKinsey have done a lot of work to connect, for example, gender in board and effectiveness of companies. Very recently, the BIS released a study showing that 1 percentage point increase in the share of female managers would decrease CO2 reduction by 0.5%. So, and all that is really connected to a better decision-making mechanism in companies, to a more balanced perspective, and it gives really companies more efficiency, more return, and more connection as well with their female consumers. So, leaving us with the question, why is the market not correcting itself? So as I said in my introduction, 30 years of professional experience already. So I guess time is a bit running out for me if I really want to change this statu quo. So, and for me, that's a key question: accelerate and close the gap, and using what I know the best, which is investment. So that's how Beyond Finance was created, with really this vision that we should go beyond finance, actually, and that a transformation would happen if we could combine technical assistance, so really helping companies to identify their gaps in gender and delivering more value, but also supported, in our case, by a more innovative financial mechanism to support companies, right? And that's something that happens on capital markets with sustainability-linked loan. Companies would get some financial incentive when they reach CO2 reduction target, and it's perfectly possible to do it also with gender diversity objectives. That's actually the core of our investment thesis. So in a nutshell, rewarding a proper allocation of capital to meet SDG 5.
Thank you, Maud. Thank you, Maud. It's well, there's some things to unpack there. Maybe I take it to Raleigh first as well, like where Maud is coming from, also with all the fund you're currently managing. You mentioned there's quite a lot of opportunities in the market for private capital on the gender and impact nexus. Can you tell us maybe a bit about those opportunities, and how do you actually envision that crowding in of private capital? Was also mentioned in your slides. Could you take us through that, like especially on the gender nexus that Maud mentioned?
Yeah, sure. And indeed, EMIIF exists to support initiatives like the ones that Maud is mentioning. What we notice is a lot of the times, actually, these are emerging or first-time fund managers, right? For whatever reason, and I don't know what is the reason, but it seems that kind of newly formed teams are more excited and are bringing forward the innovation that we need in the market in terms of both, I would say, gender and climate. Maybe because already established organizations, it's more difficult to change things from within. I don't know, but that's what we see. And as I'm sure most people on the call know, it's very, very challenging for first-time or emerging fund managers to fundraise, because what investors, the first question they ask is, show me your relevant track record. That's the first thing I want to say before I move forward. And so it becomes a bit the chicken or the egg when you're trying to innovate. And so this is where our strategy with EMIIF enters. So what we do is we're not shying away from first-time managers. We embrace that. Of course, we do proper due diligence, and we do look at the standards, things one looks at: team, relevant experience, local context, all of those things. But we also look a lot at the intentionality around the gender and impact. As I said in my opening statement, having that kind of value alignment from the start is very important. And I do sincerely believe that when you have that from the start, then you can together figure out how to improve further on it. what we do also is, we might be the first to engage in due diligence, or we might provide so-called blended finance instruments. For example, in some of our investments, we have taken a first loss. And so we provide that greater comfort to other investors who may feel a bit hesitant, or their mandates simply don't allow to engage with riskier strategies. And riskier in this case might simply mean it's new and untested, right? So we see that that's our role. The one thing that I would add in terms of other things we've seen in the region is in the venture capital space. This is where I focus most of my time, because this is where early stage SME tends to congregate. And, I think that sector is of particular interest to private investors. It has boasted above average returns of late. I mean, you probably know it's been over 20 unicorns in the last decade coming out of Indonesia, for example. But the VCs we see by and large in the region are not impact or GLI focused, or not even impact biased. And I think there's still kind of this prevalent belief that this would be at odds with financial returns. And especially in the VC industry, the trends that Mott mentioned about, the diversity of the senior leadership or the diversity of the portfolio companies themselves is not there yet. But we see for those VCs that we have supported, I would like to support, that do put impact and gender lens considerations. We do think that they are differentiating themselves for the positive from the rest. How? I mean, they're able to uncover overlooked opportunities, and they're focused on adding greater value to their portfolio companies. And we do believe that taking that longer term view rather than focusing very short term only on valuations eventually will show up in the performance numbers as well. And we also see increasingly that private investors are looking for an impact dividend. They just wouldn't be the first ones to take the first step. And I think that's the role of EMIIF, a government instrument of development finance, institutions, of foundations, to take that first risk and to catalyze private investors.
Interesting points. I think we will discuss a bit later also on that, like the guiding principle that you need to guide certain parties into this space, catalyzing, maybe also a bit of advocacy. But I want to touch upon something you said in the beginning here, like you see that more established organizations are a bit, maybe not completely on board yet on that impact with the gender or gender nexus and climate. Maybe I would like to take it then to Sathapana again, who of course have been in the market for quite a long time, have an established footprint. Samuel, could you maybe explain a bit, I put the slides up also on the 2X challenge and 2X criteria you work on, how this came to be, how the direction, how the strategy on becoming a women-focused bank actually came to be within Sathapana?
Thank you, Rick, and everyone. As you know, that Sathapana is the historically created. That's why I can say that we are touched a lot with the women. That's why you can see in this slide, 49% of our customers are female. Yeah, that's why it seems like sometimes we were called women bank. Why? Because as you know that at the history, when our people go to the side to give the finance, the financing to them, mostly only the girl or the lady are staying at home. That's why the first class client we meet is lady. Then we persuade those lady, and then those lady persuade their husband to do any financing. That's why the lady is always our channel. That's why sometimes we were called women bank. Yeah. And secondly, for our leader, our board director and also our executive management, gender and finance is one of our key direction. Yes. That's why currently we just create one task force called Women in Business, that we try to create a lot of ecosystem, how to build that to support kind of the gender and finance also. Yes. Thirdly, one of the women in Sathapana, sometimes, and also with the economic independence, sometimes I feel that as the woman, if we have the economic independence, it's also one of the solutions to solve all the problems, including poverty, education, family, and health. Why family? Because everything that we have time for, not when we work, we also sometimes we learn a lot of things from outside. And those things we also can share to our kids and to our family also. And also those also we can become that our family is stable with the financing also. For the fourth, currently also Sathapana is working with cooperative with FinFund. We try to focus on SME segmentation. We try to study how to tailor-make the product for the women, especially in this market also. Not only financing, literacy also. Because if we want someone to do something, we also need to let them know what the benefit they get from those things. That's why not only selling, but financial literacy is one of the key objectives to ensure that those girls know when they get those money where they should spend or something like that. So not only about the wording, but we have proof for you. Next slide, please, Rick. Here, just a snapshot for you how the bank has done so far. We had the direction from our leader with one message to the women during the 8 March, which is the Global Women's Day. I will show you the whole meaning of those messages. It's really touchable. So from the leader, go to the staff. So the staff for the middle picture showing that all the staff, they also share their idea, their opinion to the girl who working with for Sathapana. And not only the internal, external also. We also invite some women business in our some like that. We do some video episode that allowing our customer to share their idea also. Next slide, please. If you see the screen, you can just take a look a bit. You can see the message from our CEO. It's really touchable. He sent to thank to all the ladies working for Sathapana because those ladies, they also not only the staff but also the customer, because we work for Sathapana, but we also the customer for Sathapana, and also we are one of the Sathapana brand ambassador because we are proud to work for Sathapana, and then we advertise Sathapana to other customer also. That's why the message is really important for us and really touchable from our senior management. Next slide, please, Rick. And this one, we could add some episode. As I told you, we invite our customer to be the speaker, and we call that Sathapana. So Sathapana is a Cambodian word, but I can translate into Khmer for you. It means that create establishment, the founder, because those ladies are the successful women in business. That's why we invite them to be a speaker to show their idea, to show that how they can improve their business based on the finance from Sathapana. And as the second episode, she also invite her daughter to join also, and then show that Sathapana is not only working on finance, but how to promote the girl to be on the stage to let them know that the lady is really empowerment. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Samuel. Maybe, well, this is a nice pitch. There was also 2x criteria involved. Jessica, I would like to ask you, we have different institutions working it within the 2x collaborative, different speeds, different ambitions, different visions, different means. How do you combine those? Is it the process focused? Is it the outcome focused? How do you align these different takes on gender lens investing and also like the reality some of these organizations you work with? Could you maybe take us through those, I would say, challenges?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I think the greatest challenge, or also potential pitfall, is to believe that understanding the why automatically translates into the how, right? So very early on, everybody emphasized the business case, the statistics, all of these big numbers that we've been hearing. But we've realized that even if your investment teams or your financing teams, depending on the instrument that you have and the type of investor or financial institution, you really need to translate it into the how, so that people know what it actually means in their work. So our 2x secret sauce to success has been very practical work with the investment teams and with the clients or the investees. So from the very beginning, we've had very active communities of practice of investment practitioners actively engaging in peer learning, in co-investing and co-creating practical investment tools based on not kind of just studies, but on real practitioner needs and having this co-creation process. So instead of leaving it at you have to embed gender across the investment cycle, which is what we always hear, we got very hands-on. So here's the deal in the financial sector, in this particular context. This is what the data tells us. Here's the concrete market opportunity. Here's what you can do as an investor to leverage the business and impact case, but on this very particular deal. And so this peer learning approach and real-time collaboration on actual projects have allowed us to kind of tackle this challenge of different speeds and ambitions and actually turn it to our advantage. And so interestingly, those who joined quite late or a little bit later quickly caught up and then became leaders, and others, so it's much more dynamic. You can't say that somebody's moving slow and somebody else is moving fast, because gender lens investing is so diverse. You have so many criteria, and this collaboration style has really allowed us to have a very action-driven and a joint learning journey. There have also been some other challenges, and I was really pleased to hear it from my fellow panelists just now, such as that, with these new vehicles and funds coming to market that are often perceived first-time fund managers or vehicle managers, there's still very structural barriers. And so something that we've done to pivot and where we really need collaboration is we've ran a design sprint with over 120 investment professionals last year across emerging markets, and have created a new blended facility, 2X Ignite, which seeks to accelerate 100 gender smart funds. So these first-time fund managers that we've just heard about, reaching over 1,000 gender smart businesses, and to help them get to that moment of first close faster, so that then these funder funds and other anchor investors can come in and make them successful.
Exactly. It's about bringing the change, enabling the change, making it practical. That's what matters. Maybe then to focus on, you mentioned like the 2X Ignite, focusing on financing and investing in women. Rali, could you maybe briefly highlight and also what you are looking for when it comes to that gender and impact nexus? What kind of proposition are you more keenly to jump on? What should they bring to the EMIIF?
Sure. And yeah, I guess as Jessica alluded to, I think each organization's gender lens strategy is unique. I think there's so many helpful tools and guidelines out there in the industry, but one has to sort of hunker down for a couple of weeks or months, if you have that luxury, with your colleagues, as well as, reaching out to the community to define what it is that you will be seeking to achieve. So we did that in the beginning of our own, fund of funds design. And that allowed us, we still definitely don't have all the answers, and our approach is very much iterative and learning. But that allowed us to have a roadmap and a way to screen the market and kind of decide who are the partners that we want to engage with, particularly because when you have also very limited capital pool, you have to be extremely selective, right? So in terms of gender and impact, as I said, the intentionality is very important. We want to see that from the start. How far across the spectrum they are is something that we're very flexible on. So you may be a gender aware fund, but extremely eager to move along the spectrum, and you demonstrate that you have the local networks and the pipeline of female entrepreneurs, but you don't have formalized processes yet or policies. And so if that's the case, then great, EMIIF can be very additional to your process and help you formalize what you might already be doing, in a way not intentionally specifying it as such, right? So these are kind of one type of fund managers we see. Another type we see are what we would call the gender transformative funds. So the example of what Maud discussed in the beginning, those would be those funds that are very much front and central, discussing gender lens as part of a way to invest, right? So whether it be emphasizing women-led or owned companies, or whether it be products specifically designed for women in mind, or whether it'll be focused on diversity issues. I think it's a very important part of the equation. And if that is the only thing you achieve with your investment is to improve the diversity and the company culture, you've already achieved a lot, right? So it's not to be underestimated, this qualitative aspect, next to us trying to kind of quantify the impact. So yeah, so to answer, I guess, in a nutshell, it's a holistic strategy. We keep an open mind. I think that's very important. But we have to see that intentionality from the fund manager and some very concrete local ways that they would address the barriers they see in their own market. And it's very different, like what gender lens may be in Bangladesh is quite different than what it might be in Vietnam, right? Just because of the cultural and historical differences of these markets. So you cannot have, a cookie cutter approach for every market. And that's why that aspect that Jessica mentioned around co-creation, collaboration, that is so important. With our technical assistants, I think we adhere to some of the same principles that she mentioned. And it's been an incredibly valuable process because you set out with your assumptions, with your tools, but in the conversation, you realize, okay, these are the gaps specifically for your context. Now, how do we address those that are useful to you and to the market? And listening back to the market, right? It's really a journey. So you should start out with some assumptions, but you should be ready to pivot as you learn more.
Thank you. Maybe to bounce off that idea that you mentioned, that formalizing policies, processes, working on the local ways, including the local ways on gender lens approaches. Jessica, like when we zoom in on Asia, like the audience of the forum is quite heavily on the financial intermediaries, financial service providers. What do you see as the ambition and commitments that they should sort of like expose themselves or develop or work on to sort of like be compliant within the 2X criteria, between that whole 2X collaborative approach, like that huge investment pool that's available? Sort of like, what are the key points for you to sort of like, as a financial service provider, work on these, and then we actually have something to actually move on, transform?
Yeah, so for financial intermediaries, we focus on the 2X criteria, both at the level of the financial institution itself and at the portfolio level, because we believe that they are intrinsically linked. That doesn't mean that all of the criteria have to be met at both levels, but we really encourage financial intermediaries to strive towards progress over time. And we are there to provide hands-on support. So we've been spearheading data-driven solutions that show financial intermediaries the business and impact opportunity of gender equality across the 2X criteria, again, in their specific contextual setting. We have a range of practical tools, trainings, peer learning opportunities tailored to the different types of capital providers. And this peer-to-peer approach has been really at the core of our success and how we've gotten, to mobilize so much funding so quickly and to allocate it, because we've seen that financial intermediaries learn best when they see how others have done it. And, they don't have to copy paste it, obviously, but they get the inspiration, they see the business case, they can learn what has worked and what hasn't in other contexts and apply it to their own model. And so now with the 2X Collaborative, that convenes again the full spectrum of capital providers. Local financial intermediaries are also welcome to join us as members. We have MAUD as an active member, and there's an opportunity to be part of this peer learning journey and our communities of practice. We have, for example, communities of practice specifically on thematic areas like gender and climate, so this Nexus that Maud described. We have digital and financial inclusion, impact management and measurement, and also have a new innovation coming up. For example, our tech-enabled investment and deal-making platform that will help financial intermediaries, but also MSMEs, corporates, and other actors to assess their own 2X eligibility much more quickly, and then get connected in this matchmaking platform to investors with similar, or financiers with similar interests. So I think this is really exciting. It's great to see that we have, on the one hand, the venture capital funds that we just heard about, but then also debt funds, as well as financial institutions like Citi. So it's quite diverse. All of them have very different approaches, but all of them see exciting opportunities for gender lens. And I think in the Asia Pacific context, we also see a lot of really interesting case studies and approaches.
I think, well, coming back from previous input from different panelists, I think what's most noteworthy, if anything, to take away from it, that's sort of like things are kicked in action. Like conversations have been had for quite a long time, but now things are happening. Things are doing. Let's make things happen. We also got a question from the audience. We sort of covered it also in the beginning, like designing products, opportunities, and solutions for women. That's also quite a critical point when it comes to financial services. I would like to sort of ask Sathapana to also cover that, like how do they design products focused on women business leaders? And we got an audience question also that sort of asks, like, how do women with disabilities, how can we offer them the same opportunities as access to finance? Are there specific challenges that we should be addressing or that are addressed? And I think Sathapana, working as a financial institution in Cambodia, I hope you could also delude a bit on that. I will put on the presentation also on the screen on the women designed services and products.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Before going to the product design for Sathapana, I would answer to the question of our audience first. That he asked us if the disability women shall be able to get opportunity to get a finance or not. I can say that yes, because discrimination is no in Cambodia. It also stated in our constitution, and our policy, credit policy, also clearly mentioned that no discrimination. Disability is not really a key thing for our consideration. No. Yeah. So I can say that they still have the same opportunity as other people. Yep. So I think I hope that I can answer the question to our audience. So moving to the Sathapana. So as Rali said, the way of genderland finance is different from one market to another. That's why for Sathapana, before we design any product, we always do the research with the history also and also the current practice in Cambodia and also everything. That's why for this slide, I just show you something about what happened to Cambodia. So based on the research, we found that many women are interested in borrowing the money, more than 70%. However, 58% already declined their loan application. Not about their disability, not about their not about anything, but about that they have no insufficient collateral. The matter is like that. That's why right now we try to create some flexible product to support them, because the women, they really want to get those money for their capital, for their business. That's why Sathapana always think about the market, and we try to tailoring those products properly to the need of the women. Next slide, please, Rick. Yep. That's why currently we divide our product and also the way our approach into three things. One is non-financial service. Secondly, financial service offer. And third, about our commitment. Let me talk about what kind of non-financial service. For non-financial service, mostly we try to build a credit score for them, because we want to educate them on how to prepare and estimate financing need. It means that they ask for which amount and then we give that amount. Not really. So that's why we try to create some build credit scoring for them. Yep. Secondly, skill educate. If they want to do business, that's why we need to also help them how those business work good or not. That's why we have also some approach as a non-financial service to help them also. Yeah. And networking, because networking opportunity also really important. That's why we try to create a lot of kind of event that invite the women to the building, and also try to let them to have a networking to understand what business they should do, what kind of financing they need. Yeah, that we try to learn from them. Yeah, and try to get all the information that they need. The fourth is again educate the finance, educate them when they take those money, what they should get it from, and what they should complete the document needed and everything. And to be one-stop banking experience for them, not need to shopping around. They just come to Sathapana. I can get one window for them. They can ask all questions. Yeah, that's what we want to support them also. Yeah. About the digital also, we try to create some self-service solution for them. As you know that Cambodia, we have a lot of people in the rural area, or sometimes they are so busy with work, the women right now, not like before. That's why we try to create also some digital self-service solution for them also. Yeah. So these are the non-financial service. For the financial service offer, we have some starting point already to create some special rate with free waiver for them, and also create really specific product for women. For example, like smart saving account, the women like saving. I believe that you all ask them as me. Women always save a lot. Yeah. Secondly, business installation loan program is also the kind of new product that we create for women. Flexi lending program, unsecured credit card, and SME business modeling. These are the kind of financial service offer that we give to them. Furthermore, we don't think only this. We talk about the sustainability and also how to protect them. That's why we have some insurance partner that work with us. That's why we also try to create life insurance for women that we create specific for the women client of Sathapana to protect them. We our insurance partner, a good like bundle project, bundling product for them also. Yeah. So yeah, that's all. That is just the product brief for you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. I think we also got another question, but I think I would like to tie it into a question to Maud as well. You have the investment background. Do you think that you always have to make a decision, return on investment, the impact you want to make. Do you think that will be a trade-off moving forward? Return, impact, especially when it's gender transformative? And then maybe secondly, tied to it, like when you launch a transformative fund in Asia, what kind of investors will you probably target, look for, etc. in the Asian market? Like how's the appetite in the region?
Right. Look, I think in general there is no trade-off, right, between impact and return. It's true, it has been demonstrated over a decade. It's true for gender lens as for many impact theses in general. If you look at, and of course I'm referring to an organization I work very closely with, the Global Impact Investment Network, it's very clear there is no such thing as a trade-off. 7 investors out of 10 are looking for risk-adjusted return, and there is no particular reason why gender lens as an investment thesis would be different. That said, looking at this question from the audience, we have also to recognize that it's still quite early stage, and there are many dimensions to address. And I guess it's also a question of how to choose which dimension of gender lens one wants to address. And the 2X challenge, to that extent, has been extremely useful in creating a common language around what it means to develop a gender lens approach. And you could choose between different dimensions or a combination of these dimensions. Sam from Sathapana has explained at length how much effort has been done by Sathapana to design proper products and services for women, and we all know it's still a journey for many institutions. You could also address other challenges, such as having more women at the board level, as investment officer, to connect better with your female customer, at the management level. So, and all those questions need time and a journey. When I look at my own journey as a fund manager, right, and reflecting a bit of this question as well, I must say one of the key learning was that to engage in this space, you really must have a lot of friends and supporters. It's a bit like a quest in the modern age, if you want. And for those who like Lord of the Rings, think maybe of a fellowship, but with many more women than in the original version, and that's very important. Still, I believe that the time has come for innovation, for transformative funds, and there are a couple of those currently being in the market. Also for a combination of gender with other topics, such as climate resilience. But definitely we need as well initiatives to support this journey. I mentioned already convergence, which in our case has been really critical. The 2X Ignite is an extremely important initiative for female fund manager as well. I mean, today, if And we are actually still looking for getting some mentoring from female fund manager who have already achieved and closed their fund, and there are not so many by construction, right? So we need really some initiatives to help us gather, co-create, and network. And maybe if I had also to address one important aspect, many impact funds with gender are actually designed to be blended because they need technical assistance, or maybe because sometimes they will engage in a sector that is a bit more risky. So the risk doesn't come from the gender lens itself; it comes maybe from sectors in which those funds want to engage. And today there are a couple of initiatives to support blended finance solution, but particularly in Asia Pacific, it's something that we need to see more and more, right? More institutions willing to provide these tools for blended finance.
I think that's well, it's. I like that you mentioned that the fellowship. Let's get all on board on this. Maybe I to close off, I have one more question, maybe to Jessica. I know this is out of the blue. Is there a specific success you would like to highlight that you've seen in the past weeks or is coming up that you like that celebrates like the work you're doing that deserves that extra limelight, a bit of a spotlight? Let's celebrate successes as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I think a big success has been this design outcome of 2x Ignite, and we're now, starting the fundraising for the facility that will help this acceleration process. I think this will really be a game changer, so we're super excited about it. Really appreciative of all of the investment and financing professionals that help structure it, so really across emerging markets. And yeah, hope for a big fellowship to now help us actually fund the facility and help these vehicles and fund managers get to first close faster.
Thank you so much. I think on that note, I would like to close the session. We went a bit overboard, just 3 minutes. We did extremely well. I must mention, like on the next stage, if you go there, we will be discussing client protection with digital financial services, also quite an important topic. And later on, we have something about scaling social impact. I would like to thank all my panelists for joining me, for sharing. Hope you had as much fun as I did. It's always a bit eye-opening. I know I'm the only man on this panel, but thank you for sharing. Thank you for taking us along. Thank you also for being a bit open about the challenges, what you run into. For now, we'll close the session. Please join us in the next one. And thank you so much.
Thank you.